This is the Honda CB500X. At the time of making this video, all of our bikes are 2020 or newer, which is very important because that's when Honda switched from the 17-inch wheel to the 19-inch front wheel, which made it a bit more off-road capable. The CB500X is in real life a mid-size adventure bike, but what you got to realize in Vietnam, this is a very big motorbike. And it's our luxurious option. It's definitely a really nice way to travel across this country. Great if you've got two people on the bike. We equip it with 37-litre Jivi aluminium boxes. You can also pay a bit extra for a top box. So you can pile this up and travel in style. But what I will say is it's relatively common-ish. The people who drive, say, big BMW GSs back home on open gravel tracks like in Australia, they'll book a bike like this, and when they arrive here and they realize sort of how chaotic the traffic is, how the roads work here, they find themselves actually intimidated by this 500cc and sometimes even downgrade to the XR150. So the point of the story is, this is a big bike for this country and quite an intimidating one unless you're a really experienced rider. And on top of that, there is no need to get something this big. An XR150 is absolutely fine for most people, including if you're doing two people up on one bike. But yes, if you're an experienced rider, you want the best that really is available in this country at the moment in terms of rentals, the CB500X is here. Now this is 50 horsepower. It's got a seat height of 33 inches, which is not that big. Most people can ride it. It's 200 kilograms, which is fairly light for an adventure motorbike. So what is an adventure motorbike? Well, on Instagram and things, we'll see pictures of pro riders doing crazy jumps and extreme off-road on a bike like this. But in reality, an adventure bike is a road bike with some very basic off-road capabilities. For me, that is basically road with potholes, which is what Vietnam is. Unfortunately here, we don't really have gravel tracks. You've either got road with potholes or extreme off-road. And we do get clients getting a bit confused with a bike like this because they book it in an attempt to go off-roading on it, and this is just not an off-road bike. What we do, however, is our tires. We equip our Metzeler Karoo Street Freeze, imported from the UK. They've got really hard sidewalls. So if you get a flat, you can still drive these pretty well with flat tires, and I would say they're about 70% road, 30% off-road. Now the OEMs that come with this bike out of a showroom are more sort of 90% road, 10% off-road. And the funny thing is, when we left the OEMs on here and we were replacing with OEM tires, customers complained and said it was dangerous off-roading. So we went more extreme in terms of the off-road road balance. I'm very, very happy with these tires, going the extra mile with a hard sidewall. It's just a small difference that makes a big difference, something that separates this company out from others. I really care about stuff like that. Also, our boxes being Jivi 37-litre Trekker aluminium boxes, these cost $1,000. They are so strong. You wouldn't find things like this from most companies. Now the truth is, customers drop and crash this bike all of the time. And again, where Tigit separates itself out, especially with our damage waiver where you don't pay for the crashes, the stuff we put on the bike is designed for crashes. I go all in with stuff that's just going to work, and that's really important for your journey, because if you have you drop the bike and everything bends, your handlebars bend, your mirrors snap off, your box collapses, then you've got a problem on the road. But with us, we have it so it's unlikely to happen. Really unlikely to happen. I go all in with that sort of stuff. I don't modify these bikes with ridiculous exhausts, no auxiliary lights, anything that's going to wreck the electrics, drain the battery, no USB chargers. I put the money in the stuff that actually counts, okay? It's very important to me. So talking about luggage, in my opinion, you should not really have more than 15 kilograms of luggage on a motorbike holiday. So this, you got huge boxes, you can pile it up, you can add a top box, but really that's not what you should be doing. You should be renting a car if you're going to do that. Motorbikes do not perform well underweight. Top boxes, very high center of gravity, and it's so common that customers rent this bike and they return it saying, oh, it was a good bike and all, but the front end was really wobbly, there's something wrong with the suspension. No, you had too much weight on the back of the bike, causing the front wheel to come up. Don't overpack, please, just because you got a big bike. I have so many videos on this topic. Also, these are waterproof boxes, but waterproofing is a very vague term in real life. You can get water in these boxes. They can leak if they've been crashed. We'll fix it, but they can. You should be packing waterproof gear. Your laptop inside might vibrate to pieces. You know, you've got to have some common sense on this journey. Just because you've got a big bike doesn't mean that you can carry everything that you would carry in a car. Also, the CB500X we've been renting for about 4 or 5 years now. We've never had a holiday stopping breakdown on one. That's incredible. Can't say the rest for any of the other models. This is an amazingly reliable bike. However, its one big weakness is its rear shock. It breaks all of the time. I can't actually blame the bike. It's because people overload it. So every single Tigit office has a replacement CB500 shock on site, ready for replacement. But be aware that just because the Instagram pictures have piles of luggage doesn't mean that you should. You'll break the rear shock if you overload it, and you're going to end up with a really springy bike until you get to a Tigit office. We'll replace it for free, but in my mind, I'm like, you know, why has the customer got so much stuff on the bike? So to conclude this video, the CB500X is an amazingly reliable, luxurious bike for Vietnam. Really fun to travel across the country on this bike. Great for the terrain here, which is road with tarmac, but ride it like a motorbike, not a car. That's what I'll say. And you'll really, really enjoy this fantastic machine. By the way, I didn't talk about the way it performs. The power delivery on this is beautiful. The exhaust, lovely noise. Well, I don't know why people feel they need to change exhaust and things. It sounds beautiful as it is. It just drives great. It's a lovely bike. That's why we have it. To rent this motorbike from Tigit, you need to have a valid motorbike license at home and an international driver's permit. If you don't have those, we won't rent this bike to you. You can rent 150cc and below. It's super common that people ride big bikes back home, 500cc, 1000cc, 1200cc, whatever. Just because you're riding a big bike back home does not mean that the CB500X is the right bike for you in Vietnam. In fact, for most people, most tourists coming here, the XR150 is the right bike for them. This is an intimidatingly large and powerful bike for this country, and the way it will behave on the roads here is very different to what you would experience back home. In my opinion, you need to be a pretty confident rider to wield a beast like this around in Vietnam. Tigit Motorbikes, the staff here and myself is definitely keen, fanatic motorcycler, right? I'm pretty experienced at that. And what we do not do is add all these fancy extras for pictures. Inside, and what we choose is the top of the line stuff that we feel is important, like Jivvy crash gear, high quality Jivvy boxes, motocross handlebars. This bike doesn't, but double take mirrors, high quality hard wall tires. Small things that the client can't necessarily see from the outside, but make a huge difference to the reliability of the client's holiday over a big distance. The stuff that counts, exhausts, all the electrics, everything like that is OEM, which is the best. Okay?